Hey, what is up? This is Christian. Hey, we have a special, amazing pleasure to interview this woman. She is the founder of Simply Enrich, just a foundational woman that goes out there, pursues it, to go out there and transform other women, other men, to really enrich their life, and to go out there and pursue and make an impact. Guys, everybody's going to enjoy this interview. Hopefully you're able to take some key aspects away from what she has talked about and enjoy it. Take care.
Thank you so much for listening to Millennial Seeking Wisdom. Listeners, I really just want to share with you really an exciting woman that we have. And just to share a quick story, it was interesting, when we were first talking to this woman, she just right off the bat just started giving me great advice and resources on how to create a really good podcast. And I'm just so excited, thrilled to share with you just a little bit of her wisdom, her experiences. She is an enrichment coach, a speaker, an author, a founder of Simply Enrich and the Treasure Swap. She's a wife and a mother. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Renee Vidor. How are you doing today, Renee?
Awesome. Thank you so much for asking, Christian.
Wonderful. Thank you so much again for just taking the time and just sharing with our listeners some of the experiences and wisdom that you have. I really appreciate that.
My pleasure. I mean, it's been great getting to know you and just finding other like-minded people that want to make this world a better place and work together to do that.
100%. We got to stick together, right? In that avenue.
Absolutely.
I know I just mentioned a very, very small aspect of who you are and what you do. If you don't mind, tell our listeners a little bit more about who you are, if you will.
Absolutely. I am definitely a mom, a wife, a friend to many. I'm a chocolate lover. I love to be a part of nature, be a part of community. And I'm someone that reaches out to others to be able to help them to find what is going to enrich their lives, because I found for myself, that's my passion, and it enriches my life to do that with others.
That is remarkable. And I mean, obviously, like I mentioned, I found that right off the bat. It sounds like you're just one of those individuals that just truly love people. You want to add value to people as much as possible.
Yeah, there are people that are introverts and extroverts. I am 100% an extrovert. I mean, we all need our time alone, but I really do enjoy other people. And I think that that's just a gift. We all have our gifts, and introverts have their gifts as well. But for myself, I was very excited when you reached out and when we were able to start chatting, because I thought, wow, this is someone else who is, like I said, like-minded and just really looking to add value to people. And I can use as much value as anyone's willing to add. So I appreciate all that you're doing with this podcast and just, like I said, making this world a better place.
You're too nice, though. I appreciate it. And I know, obviously, I mentioned you're a speaker and an author. And tell our listeners a little bit, obviously how you got in. I thought when we first talked and spoke, I thought it was very interesting how you got into speaking and engagement and so forth. So please tell our listeners a little bit about that, if you will.
Okay, I will. And I'm not really sure if I told you the full story. Probably not. But I'll go ahead and indulge you with that a little bit and our listeners.
Awesome.
I actually was afraid to speak. I was very scared. And I got to a point where I was going to be on stage and I had to do a 30-minute presentation, more or less. And that was something that scared the bejeebies out of me. When I was in college, I had no problem. I would go up and I did speech after speech, but something happened after I had my first child. I was 21, I'm young, and I just sort of lost that self-confidence. And when I thought about going up on that stage, walking around was fine, but speaking, I started hyperventilating just thinking about it. I had someone mention to me, I was confiding them saying how scared I was. And I will tell you, it's random, but I was asked to be in this pageant. And I'm not really a pageant kind of girl. It's just not my thing. But at the same time, I knew this was a step in the direction that I needed to take. It was going to help me overcome the speaking fear. And that was something that was in my trajectory for the future. I could just tell. So when I asked this friend, what should I do? He mentioned to me, you should come to my Toastmasters class or course. And I was like, what's that? I'm thinking, I have no clue what this is. And he's like, well, just come and check it out. So I went to this Toastmasters event, and lo and behold, I got up front. I did a quick impromptu speech. It was only like a minute. And I got past that fear very quickly. So I continued with that group. I'm still with that group. It's been several years. And I feel like I can never improve enough. There's always something to improve. But just taking that leap of faith and getting out there and doing something I wasn't comfortable with is how I got into speaking.
How crazy. And obviously someone to kind of push you in the right direction. They saw something in you that kind of pushed you in, like, hey, do this, And,
yes, absolutely. Pushing me for sure.
That is incredible. That is remarkable. And I know obviously a little bit about our podcast. We obviously talk about wisdom and focusing on wisdom, because obviously how many times have we seen individuals that, quote unquote success, but they commit suicide, or they're underneath felony charges or sexual harassment charges and all sorts of things. And we obviously believe that it's due of lack of wisdom. And obviously with your experience, we would love to just get your perspective or your definition on wisdom.
Yes, that's a great question. That's something that I think the dictionary defines wisdom as someone who, I believe it's experience, knowledge, and having good understanding. And it's hard to get very far from that definition, because the truth of the matter is, without experience, we're unable to know our surroundings and to know how to react or to act on things. And without knowledge, we don't know how to respond to things. But there's something about that innate understanding as well, that it's really mixing those three things that comes about wisdom in a way that is, I can't really give it my own definition. But what I can tell you is that I do go by my favorite book that says the foundation of wisdom is respect of the Lord. And for myself, that's what I found is when last year, one of my words for the year was wisdom, actually, because I felt like that was an area that I wanted to continue to grow in. When you're young, when you're youthful and you're realizing, okay, I've got a lot to learn, I realized, okay, this is something I want to grow in. So I looked into it pretty deeply, and I realized that without a central respect, and for myself, it's for God, then I'm not able to know or understand people, myself, or any working surroundings. I might as well go straight to the creator of who does all that and who's, put it all together. So respect for that is really what I see as the foundation of wisdom.
Gosh. And there's obviously a lot of wisdom behind that, understanding behind it. That is remarkable. I really like that. And I'm curious, what, maybe you mentioned this, but at what point in your life did you really discover that? Because a lot of people, they go through life, that an age is just a number, really. We've known individuals that are very young that have understood that very quickly, like yourself. And we've understand individuals that are very old that have not quite yet understood that. At what point in your life did you kind of discover that, if you will?
I think that's developing over time. I have definitely been in an early mature, someone who goes out there and does things independent. And there are some that are more like that, and others that cling closer to home and don't find that confidence as early, which neither is wrong or bad, but it does put us into situations where we have more experience, I suppose, where we go out there and do things, maybe make more mistakes. The more mistakes we make, the more experience and wisdom we can obtain, as long as we turn those mistakes into something we can learn from. So I think that's a process that's developed. I can't say, ooh, I figured this out. And I really don't feel like I've still figured it out.
Yeah.
I just feel like, along with every other human being, I'm on a process and a journey of learning more about that. And I believe the sooner that we are willing to look into it, and the younger that we decide to just take hold of that concept that it's not all about us and it's not all about our life, but looking outward, the sooner we can begin to grasp a little bit of what that wisdom is. And I'm still on that journey.
100%. There's a lot of humility to that as well, because acknowledging that you're not there, and realizing that, like you said, the journey. And I think at the end of the day, wisdom, we'll never really fully obtain full wisdom, obviously, because life is life, and it'll always throw us a different wrench. And like you said, if we're not if we're living in and not learning, then that's not wisdom. But if we're living and learning, that's the whole point behind it, is to
Yes.
learn behind it. Definitely.
Absolutely.
And obviously, just to kind of switch gears a little bit, I really appreciate that perspective behind it. What is one question that, definitely as a speaker and author, you've probably been asked so many questions. Definitely from being a mother, I know, definitely having several kids, it's probably they ask you some really crazy questions at most random times. But what is one question in your life that you've always wanted to be asked, but you've never have been? And what is the answer to that question, Renee?
I could be a little bit funny and say the question that you just asked me. I really do think that's a tough question. I think that the more that I ponder that, I realize that I have been asked many questions, probably more than I ever wanted to be asked.
Yeah.
But at the same time, as an example of wisdom, the question I want to be asked would be one that would be helpful to the audience or the listeners. So something that's been on my mind has been the focus of identity. And I've been working through that with the book that I'm writing called Measuring Up: How to Win in a World of Comparison. And I suppose to put that into a question, it would be, why is knowing our identity so important? And the answer to that, a partial answer at least, is that our identity holds the key to nearly every decision that we're going to make, every relationship that we're going to be in. It holds the key to our freedom. It holds the key to being able to have wisdom, because without our identity, we're pretty much just floating around, and we don't understand who we are, why we're here, or where we're going. So I would want to be asked, why is it so important to know our identity?
Wow, that is very, very impactful, and I really appreciate you, because I never even thought of that question, and that is remarkable, because you're exactly right. How many times have we always asked, what is our passion? What is our passion? But at the end of the day, if we don't know what our passion is, if we don't know who we really are, what do we represent? Who are we? And who do we want to be known for, if you will?
Absolutely. And to add to that, I love that you said that we're asked all the time what our passion is, because that's something I work with my clients when I'm coaching as well, is the aspect of what is your passion and your purpose. But if, like you said, if we don't go deeper, we might know what our passion is, but we don't know how to fill it, how to actually do it. Because if we don't have that foundation, then you're absolutely right. We're stuck.
My gracious! Now, when is that book coming out? Do you know? You have a date or potential?
I'm expecting it to be released late fall, early winter. Oh. So I'm excited for that.
That is excellent. And just so so we don't get too much off, but I would love to know, where could my listeners potentially get that book? Would it be on Amazon, or would it be your website that we're going to talk about later? Or
yeah, that book will be available anywhere, Barnes & Noble, Amazon. It'll be out I'm sure it will also be on my website as well.
Awesome. Okay, perfect. And that's Measuring Up by Renee. Awesome. And then obviously, I'm going to be honest with you, we're going to have to, get you back on our podcast, because I just love that topic, and I think we could really dig deeper into that topic, because of course I do. In today's generation, it is a lot of, we see a lot of younger individuals that they have the wrong role models, or they're completing more suicide, or there's just a lot more stress on our younger individuals. And there's been a lot of research behind it. Are our kids, I don't have kids, but I mean, are our kids, having kid moments, or are they growing up too quickly? Are they, because of social media and so forth? There's so much pressure, culture-wise. And, the identity is their lack of identity. They don't know who they are. And so they like to relate themselves to maybe cultural things. But I'd love to have you on a little bit more, and obviously, discussing that book, and maybe obviously just learn a little bit more about that perspective. But I would love to ask you this question as well, to just kind of switch it up. Imagine imagine all the things that you're doing, all the things that you've done, is deleted from the world for whatever reason. And you have a piece of paper, and you can only really say 3 truths on there. 3 things that you either want people to remember you by, or 3 things that you want other people to know, share to the next generation. 3 truths that you want to share. And of course, tomorrow you'll be gone. What would those 3 truths that you want to share?
Oh, that's a great question, Christian. I would want others to know, and these are just some things that I personally have learned, and I wish I would have learned even earlier, but they have been so helpful. One would be that who you spend time with matters. Your circle of influence is so much more powerful than we even give it credit for, whether that's someone in high school, someone in college, someone in the workforce, or someone in their 80s. It still matters, because those are the perspectives that we are putting into our mind and allowing our lives to be lived through. Number 2 is that your reputation and your name are more valuable than gold. And we don't really think much about gold, so maybe that's a dumb way to put it. I know I don't, but our name and our reputation surpass us. They're what our legacy is. That's what's left behind for generations to come. And whether it's a good name or a bad name is really dependent upon how we look at it now, every single day. One decision can change that. So it's really important to think about our name and our reputation before we make decisions and before we really do anything. And also, number 3 is that freedom lies within knowing your identity and living true to it, which more or less is knowing who you are and whose you are. Once we identify that, we're able to obtain freedom that helps us to live the rest of our lives. So those are the 3 things that come to mind right now for as 3 truths, and there are so many more, but those are really important.
Wow, I really appreciate that, because and listeners, I hope you got that, and obviously maybe you wrote that down. Circle of influence, extremely powerful. Reputation, more valuable than money, and obviously than time as well, because obviously we only are on this planet for a period of time, but a reputation will carry on. And then freedom lies in your identity. And like I mentioned before, we're going to have to talk a little bit more about the identity as well. So I really appreciate those 3 truths, ladies and gentlemen, from Renee. And then also, love to have my followers, get in touch with you. Obviously I know, Renee, you're available for speaking engagements and so forth, and as well as for coaching. How can my listeners reach out to you?
Yeah, I'd love to connect on social. I am on Instagram at Simply Enrich. You can find me on Twitter at Simply Enrich. I'm available on Facebook. Also, you can find me, and that one would be Renee Vidor at Simply Enrich. And if you wanted to email, you're welcome to put that in. I'm open to chatting with people, because like you mentioned, even suicide, I've lost friends to that. And I feel like everyone needs to have some kind of connection that knows that they know that people care, as well as LinkedIn. You can find me on LinkedIn at Renee Vidor.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen. There you go. It is SimplyEnrich.com. Simply Enrich is her direct website, of course, and that's Simply Enrich on all the Instagram and Twitter as well. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, a speaker and author, obviously someone that is full of wisdom for how young she is, and a go-getter. I recommend just reaching out to her, maybe even having, like you mentioned, Renee, a circle of influence. She may be willing to, invite you into obviously having a different perspective and being part of your circle of influence. So again, Renee, I really appreciate your time and just your perspective and your wisdom. We really appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Christian, thank you so much for having me on. This has been a blast. And not only that, I can't wait to continue to listen to this podcast and hear from so many people like you're doing. This is really remarkable. Thank you so much.
We really appreciate that as well. And again, ladies and gentlemen, that's Renee Vidor. And until next time, ladies and gentlemen, have a wonderful day.